Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Propulsion Swimming Podcast. I'm your host Scott and back with me as always is my co-host and good friend Dan. We've been in your ears quite a lot recently. We've had a lot of podcasts come out. We had daily episodes during the Paris Olympic Games. But on today's episode, we're back with a little bit of normality. Weekly episodes are going to be continuing from here on out. We're not going to take a break after Paris Olympics because there's so much to talk about. And today we're going to be giving an overall assessment of how Team GB fared in the pool in Paris.
Yeah, I think we'll give an overall assessment of what we thought the Olympics was, how it was. Like, we'll talk about the slow pool. That was obviously a big talking point at the very beginning. But then ultimately, I think we're going to talk about, for the majority of this episode, about the British team, how well we did, where we kind of missed and where we could have maybe improved, as well as other things which we will, of course, get into.
Yes, you teased that quite nicely. So we'll kick things off with just overall assessment of the Olympic Games as people who didn't make it to Paris but watched every single session on TV. If any of our listeners joined us through our daily episodes during the Olympic Games, we had a lot to discuss about the results that happened in the pool then, so we won't kind of tread over worn ground already. But there was the topic of the slow pool that started, well, from first day. By the end of the meet, Dan, I'm not quite sure it was a discussion point given how fast some of the swims went. So maybe it was first day jitters. Who really knows?
I've got no idea. Yeah, I mean, we had a video actually ready to go live, kind of, didn't we? About how slow this pool was and whether this Olympics was actually one of the slowest in recent memory. But actually, the last couple of days, with Olympic records and world records being broken, it kind of puts that sort of idea right in the bin, doesn't it?
That video went straight in the bin.
It did, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. And what can you blame it down to? The pool was shallow. Let's
shallow,
say it how it is, which does make it slower because of the turbulence and all the rest of it.
But by the end of the meet, I'm not sure how slow.
Well, that's just it. I don't know if people got used to it and they knew how to swim in it, and so it didn't really affect. But, you know, Olympic Games, first couple of days is always nervous. Like, you saw it in the heat swims. People were not quite firing at the heats. And then towards the end, the big guns knew exactly what they had to do. They eased into it nicely. And I don't know, maybe they just got used to the pool being shallower. Like, the backstroke starts, they were pretty much touching the floor.
Some of them,
Yeah, and then people realised that you had to get out to the front to kind of avoid the waves. And people adapted. I guess that's probably what we're getting to.
The French crowd, the atmosphere, obviously we didn't make it to Paris, we didn't see it when we were there, but we had our headphones up very loud for a lot of the sessions. I think it was made great by the fact that there were a lot of French swimmers in finals. You had people like Manadou who were living to the crowd, they weren't ignoring it, they weren't overruled by it whatsoever. Actually, every French swimmer seemed like they were smiling, loving life. It almost felt pressure-free for a lot of them, which... I mean, we did a whole video series on Marchand during the Olympic Games, and how on earth some of these French swimmers could swim pressure-free is actually beyond me. But it did look like that because, I don't know, it felt like this extra...
Yeah, they were just enjoying the moment. Like, you watch the French rugby and you can see there's a little bit of pressure. They were supposed to win the World Cup. They didn't, and the crowd really get on their backs. But they were right behind every single French swimmer. Like that last race when they got their bronze in that men's medley, and it was like they won gold. Like, it was a huge atmosphere. Obviously, Manadou was basically the crowd controller. He was orchestrating the crowd. And then it helps when you have Marchand doing what he did. That obviously does help. But literally every swimmer, Aubry, 1500 swimmer, Grousset, Gastazello, every single French swimmer was cheered just as loudly.
Even in the heat sessions. It was really loud in the heat.
Honestly, I wish I was in that stadium because it looked like it was a hell of an atmosphere. Like, we had the experience of going to trials, obviously, in London, and that was pretty good.
That was loud.
But that was loud. What, 15,000 is it in that stadium? Maybe 18, a little bit more, 18. Yeah, I mean, that is a special arena to swim in.
So who are your top swimmers of the week, Dan? I know Leon Marchand is the obvious place to start with his 4 golds and a bronze in the relay.
Yep.
Literally an untouchable meet. He is now the face of men's swimming, certainly men's swimming in the global scene, and he will be for many years to come. He's only 22. He's only really just getting started with Bob Bowman, which is scary if you're a previous world record holder, Ryan Lochte. Who else impressed them?
Because Marchand takes all the plaudits, being French and doing what he did, Summer McIntosh was actually not too far away from matching that gold medal tally. Like, she won 3 and won a silver in that 400 free as well. Did she get a medal in the relay as well?
They got a bronze. No,
Can't remember.
no, they
No,
missed.
did
They
she?
missed in
No.
the final one.
So she actually matched near enough what Marchand did. She's got 3 golds and a silver in that 400 free as well. But because Marchand, being the French guy, the one who's being compared to Phelps, it kind of feels like McIntosh has been second fiddle almost. But actually, she had a stunning meet, just like Marchand, hitting Olympic records all over the place. So she has to be in the top 5, top 2, really. She is the second best. Yeah, definitely.
She's definitely, for me, the standout on the women's side. I know Kaylee McEwen just destroyed the backstroke. Katie Ledecky pushed her records even further out of reach.
Yeah.
But no, fully, like, we've had question marks of the progress of Summer in the past. I know last Worlds, the 400 free didn't hit for her, and it felt like, oh no, what's happening here? But I think from day one, when she had that silver, she was the one challenging Ariane Titmus. Yes, Dan, you called that right from months ago.
I did indeed.
You felt like something special was coming, and yeah, it just felt like she wasn't going to be stopped in any event. Like the 200 IM, me and you both went into that. We did previews, if anyone who didn't listen. We both went into that day just going, nah, like, there's world-class swimmers in this field, and we can't bet against Summer right now.
No,
it was almost inevitable, just like Marchand, in every single event.
Yeah, obviously the 400 IM was always going to go her way. The 200 fly, I know Regan Smith put up a good battle, but really that was always going her way too. And then the 200 IM was the biggest race for me out of the whole Olympics that could have gone any way. But even when we did the prediction, you can't bet against her because she's just too strong.
Yeah.
Freestyle and fly is just amazing. The breaststroke improvement she's made is clearly the difference, which is why she's getting these records. Is Katinka Hossu's 200 IM under threat now for the world record? I actually think it is. I think it's now. It's now in touching distance. Yeah, and then you touched on Kaylee McEwen. She's done the double from Tokyo and now in Paris as well. Maybe she might be a little bit disappointed in the 200 IM based on what she's done earlier this season.
I think she was tired with a very busy schedule.
Yeah, she was doing all the relays and all the
backstroke events. I would have thought took a lot mentally out of her more than anything, just because the battle with Regan. She actually came out and said she struggles with anxiety and stuff like that. And going into this meet, I said that she would win purely because of her mentality, and you don't see that anxiety whenever she actually steps up and races a big race.
Yeah, it's almost muscle memory in terms of upstairs
phenomenal.
in the mind and in the body as well. She's a fantastic swimmer, and it'd be difficult to bet against her in LA to do exactly the same thing. And then Katie Ledecky, no doubt the greatest female swimmer of all time now. She is just phenomenal. The only one to do 4 Olympics in a row now in the same event to match Michael Phelps, and let's face it, she's the favourite to do it again in LA 4 years' time, which she said she's going to do as well. So yeah, there's your top 4, and then I suppose a bit more controversially is your Panzan Lee, because he did have a very quick meet, let's say.
Very quick. We don't need to talk about the controversy. We're not in the best place to say anything more. We had a little bit to say during the week, but we'll leave it at that. All I can say is a world record in the 100 free by 0.4, and your first 45-point relay split is bonkers. Yeah. We'll do a video purely on like his technique and how he actually races the 100 free, because it is unique. He is incredibly flat in the water, and his last 15-25 meter speed is just how do you come back like that? We still haven't quite figured it out yet, have we?
That, and he goes out in a 21.5 based on that relay split, which is good enough for a medal at the 53 level. So I know there's a relay takeover involved, but it's extremely quick. 45 point for the first time, and a very quick meet. We'll leave it at that. Yeah.
Right. British assessment then, because a lot of our British audience will be wanting to know our opinions of how the Brits went. We will touch upon the medal count. We'll address it. We'll give our view on it. I just first want to say it does look like there was an illness going either around camp, or a few swimmers certainly suffered with it. I know we're just speculating because we haven't spoken to any swimmers or coaches yet from the Paris. They don't need to speak to us. We'll let them enjoy their time in Paris. A lot of them are still there as we're recording it.
Yep.
But some of the posts that we've seen coming out as people have said, that's my Paris done. Thank you for all your support. A lot of them have mentioned that there was some sort of illness that they suffered with, some sort of virus. So I think we need to take that into a slight consideration when we're talking about swimmers in the pool. There was obviously, I think Katie Shanahan came out and said she had glandular fever in the months leading up to the games. So her swims now look even better.
Especially at 200 backstroke, we'll get to that. Yeah.
And then Adam obviously got COVID. I think literally the day of the 100 breaststroke final. So take all the results with a slight pinch of salt. With that saying, I don't think the medal haul of 5 is as bad as some comments we're seeing. I don't understand the negative, like the extent of the negativity to 5 medals in an event where on the men's side, it was the medals were spread out absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, I actually think, I've said this numerous times on our daily podcast, that I actually think we did really well. I know we predicted like 8 to 10 medals, but like we're going to get to it now. We had a number of fourths. Angharad was actually very close, even though she finished 6th, she was actually very close to a medal herself. And if you turn those fourths into medals, then suddenly
you're at
5, and then you're at 8. Yeah, exactly. So it's just we were on the wrong side of the touch a couple of times, and not just those fourths as well. Like 3 of our silvers, if you add an extra 10th onto all of those, then you suddenly got 3 golds. A total of 4 golds.
It's not even like add it to each individual one. If you add up how much they missed
combined,
how much they missed the gold by, it's a 10th.
Yeah,
which is just like...
So it's unfortunate. It's not unlucky. It's unfortunate because someone's got to finish second, and it just happened to be Adam in the breaststroke, happened to be Matt in the 200 free, happened to be Ben in the 50 free. Just the way it went, unfortunately for us. And I think if you turn those silvers into golds, then suddenly you're looking at 4 golds and a silver. That's pretty good, you know. And then I think... do you know what I think it is? You know, we started off... I'm going to say it. We started off quite badly. We expected a medal in the men's 4x1. And I think because of that...
It's just an air of negativity since then.
From the get-go. And then Adam wins his silver, which is classed as a loss, and effectively, so that's 2 losses in a row. It's not, but I think from the casual fans watching in, they're expecting him to win. So it's almost like 2 bad swims in a row. And yes, we were supposed to win the men's 4x2. So I don't know if it... Because we started badly, in asterisks there, it's then started a negativity sort of narrative from the get-go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think we pushed it all week that we were getting behind the squad no matter what happened. We're certainly not here to bring down any results that happened in the swimming pool. That's not our job. That's not really our right to do that. These swimmers have earned the place to go to these Olympic Games. I think people need to remember that. They were the ones who qualified in London. And they were the ones who were selected to perform. And I would say, as our most part, a lot of them did perform. I know it's really weird, actually, that swimming for 4 out of 4 years until this event is judged on time. And then when you get to an Olympic Games, it's judged on colour of medal. Because some of the 4th places, Max in the 400 metre IM smashed the British record.
He did.
Couldn't have done much better. But a 4th place doesn't show up on your medal tally. But actually, that swim, you couldn't have asked for anything more.
No. Kind of the same with Angharad, who's there or thereabouts. PB.
We'll go through all of these. Like Ollie Morgan in the backstroke, he was there or thereabouts on PB. Kenna McInnes PB'd in the 100 fly.
Well, actually, I'll tell you what, we'll start with that, actually. I think the debutants for their first Olympics swam amazingly. So Eva Okaro swam really solid times in the relays. Angharad, we've obviously spoken about her. Ollie Morgan, Freya Colbert. All of these guys have swam amazing. Honey Osrin, of course.
People forget Katie Shanahan. It was her first Olympics as well.
Exactly. Every single one of them swam really well. And usually on their first Olympics, they aren't at their best because there's a different sort of setting. You train for the Olympics and it kind of gets you a little bit. But all of them swam really well. Really, really well.
Okay, let's go through the GB medals then. Let's talk with some structure. We've kind of meandered through our kind of opinions to this point. So we kick things off on the medal total with the men's 4x2 freestyle relay gold, which is a hugely impressive gold given the fact that these boys become the first team to defend their title with the exact same squad. They went about it the right way, resting Duncan and Matt Richards for the heats. In came Jack McMillan and Kieran Bird, which I think was the right decision. You could have maybe even rested one more, but I think we discussed it on a daily podcast. I think Tom needed to be in the water. Jimmy was flying, so let Jimmy fly. That was the right team in the heats, and then the final, they backed it up. They had a solid race with America. Probably a little bit closer for comfort at times, but when Duncan Scott swims a 1:43 final split, you're feeling happy.
Tough to catch him on that, eh?
Just a little bit.
I think going into Paris, everyone from British fan point of view wanted the world record to go, but I think these guys just did a very professional job. They stayed with the Americans, let's say, or just ahead of the Americans for the first 150, and then they had enough in the tank just to blitz the final 50, just to make sure they win. And
it wasn't about the time, really. I think
no, it
came down to ignoring the world record and focusing on the race.
It was race to race, and then you let Duncan just do what Duncan does on the anchor, going 143, and no one's catching him. So I just think it was a professional job, got the gold, and that did slightly, I would say, kickstart the rest of the meet, I think, in terms of really good performances.
It did feel like a momentum turning point. I get that. But then there was that patch in the middle of the meet because it was a 9-day schedule, the schedule got a little weird. And there was a patch in the middle where it was really busy in the pool, but none of the events actually suited the entries for the Brits. So there was like the 200 fly and the 200 breaststroke on the guys' side. We had no one in the water for either of those events. And it felt like the momentum started to pick up again at the end of that with Ben Proud and Duncan. But by that point, like the meet was done. Yeah. So there was that weird middle few days, which is just part of the schedule, where it almost killed momentum slightly. I get what you're saying. It did feel like it picked everyone up.
Yeah, I mean, every country goes through their ups and downs in certain events, and unfortunately, especially on the men's side, we struggle with the 200 fly and 200 breaststroke at this point in time. But even if we did really well on that, and maybe got a fourth, the whole... everyone was cheering on for Marchand, everyone's going extremely quickly. So, yes, I mean, the 4x2 gold was the way we were supposed to go, I suppose. Yeah. Just the world record's not there, but maybe we get it down the line with a slightly better pool, and we're not really focused on getting the gold, It
might come out of Worlds, maybe Singapore. I think
possibly,
Singapore next year could be extremely fast. Bit of pressure off some of these swimmers.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk Adam. His silver in 100 meters breaststroke literally came down to the touch. It was one of those weird races where actually the breaststrokers did look like at the start of the meet, the last 15 meters, they were all just bunching up. It was getting really, really weird.
Yep.
I would say the illness had an effect because his semi-final swim and even his heat swim looked so good, and for it to be almost like a dead heat across the pool in this one was a bit weird. But we saw him speak afterwards, and he said, "Look, the silver for me, I've won because I've got back to this point. I've got to this point in the journey," which I think is hugely, hugely impressive.
Well, it's good that he's turned over a new leaf, because otherwise, 6 years ago, let's say, that silver would have been an absolute tragedy. But he's come out of the dark side of the tunnel, let's say. He's come out and he's seen the light, I guess. And that silver is actually extremely good. Could have very easily have been a gold, just on the touch again, the other side of the touch. He shouldn't be too disappointed. He's not disappointed with his silver. No. I know the 3-peat was on, and there was a lot of pressure on that point of view.
The time also might niggle away, but
it
came down to, especially in the breaststroke, the Olympic. It was about winning the Olympics. It was never about the clock, especially in that 100 breaststroke. No.
But it's very confusing. Separating gold to, I think, 7th was like half a second, which is unheard of when you've got Adam in the pool and Ching Haiyang, and then obviously Martin Ingi doing what he just did. So it really could have gone anywhere. So in a weird way, he did really well to get silver based on that. But he's obviously got the right mentality for that. And will he carry on? Maybe we'll talk about that later.
We will. Matt Silver in the 200 meters freestyle. Yes, disappointing how close he got to gold. But had we have said going into the meet, Matt Richards silver in the 200 meters freestyle, given the form that Popovic was in, I think any Brit would have taken that.
Absolutely, especially with like Martin's doing what he was doing as well. You would snap your hand off at that.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think that is a hugely, hugely impressive silver. Near miss for the gold. But for the future, Popovic isn't this unbeatable machine.
No, I suppose people could look at this because does he struggle with, let's say, indoor pools? Every time he swims in an outdoor pool, he swims lights out, and it's something you've never seen or you haven't seen for quite a while. And then maybe the pressure of that because he was going in as a big favourite. I don't know. But Matt did what he was supposed to do, and I suppose in a weird way, again, British fans looking at this, because he missed that gold by 200ths, is that then a disappointment? No. But actually, again, going in, like you say, I would have taken a silver for the 200 free, because I expected Popovic to run away with it. But the fact that he got really close actually is testament to what Matt was doing.
Yeah. And then Duncan near miss in that 200 meters freestyle as well, 4th. He had just had an extra little bit of Paul, I think he would have come back on Luke Hobson, and he was again so close to that bronze. So, heading into the Olympic, we wanted 2 in this event. We really wanted 2, but when you look back at the whole Olympic Games, there was only one event on the men's side where there were two from the same country, which was the men's 100 meters butterfly, the second to last day.
Yeah,
it wasn't. The men's side was extremely deep, and it just didn't happen like that across the board. So a second, a fourth, I think that is an extremely good result. Well, yes, Duncan will be disappointed to miss an Olympic medal in it, of course.
I mean, he made up for it in the 200 IM. Yeah. But the 200 free, I still think the British guys are the best in the world at it. I know Poffitt's just got the gold, but we are overall the best in the world, which makes sense with our 4x2 relay.
And they're still not old at all.
No, there's at least another cycling Matt, definitely, I think, another cycling Duncan and Jimmy.
I hope there's more than one more cycling Matt. Yeah. Blimey, he's only like 20.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah. He says he wants to keep going until he drops, I think. So, who knows? Could that team make it 3 years? Or 3 Olympics
Well, Jimmy's
in a
still
row?
going, so...
I mean, he said he's still going. And he's going maybe for the 400 as well. So he'll just be doing freestyle. But, I think Duncan will be disappointed. But his 200 IM, which we'll get to now, was extremely impressive.
Yes. So the 200-meter IM, I think, given the momentum of the week and the way that everyone saw that Marchand was swimming, the gold may have been out of reach. And then we saw Duncan's race, and he was a clear silver. Clear silver in the 200 meters IM. A long way, personally. That's what I think. A long way clear of a very, very competitive field. And we saw in the pool, on the podium, just how happy he was with that result. So a silver, it's the same as Matt. It's a silver, exactly, we would have snatched your hand off.
Yeah, it is exactly the same, because I thought, even though Marchand wasn't going in as fastest, Wang Shun was, I think everyone, based on the results that Marchand was getting earlier, the gold was kind of his to lose. Yeah. And Duncan going that time as well, which is basically the same sort of time as what he did at Tokyo. I think clearly, because he showed it, he was extremely happy with that silver. And like you just said, I think, like Matt, he would have been happy with a silver. He would have taken that. And the way that he beat the rest of the field, let's say, by over half a second, it was a comfortable silver.
Raced it so, like we talked about in the daily podcast, he raced it so perfectly. He took it out a little bit harder than he did in the heats and the semi-finals, and then from the breaststroke to freestyle turn, essentially it was done, because his closing speed at these Olympic Games, even at trials earlier in London, had been the standout point. His freestyle leg of that 200 meters IM, even his freestyle leg in the 200 meters IM and the closing speed in the 100 and 200 meters freestyle. We sat there, we were on a call, we both went, okay, Duncan's won the silver, what's happening behind?
Yeah, and actually my attention went to Tom, who I thought might actually close in for bronze, and he was again, half a second off.
He was one of the swimmers who said he came out, he was ill on the blocks, like he was under the weather with a virus. So again, pinch of salt with Tom's result, like if that hadn't have hit, there could have been 2 on that podium, and suddenly the results are looking so much better. So broader context, very happy with those results so far. And then we move on. I think it was actually earlier in that session, we have Ben Proud in the 50 meters freestyle win his first Olympic medal, which again, 500ths off the gold. But you take a silver for Ben Proud. It was the one major competition missing from his cabinet.
Yeah, I know we really wanted, as did every British fan, wants him to win gold, and he had probably the best opportunity he will probably ever get, I imagine, at winning gold in the 53.
Who knows?
But you never know, he might do another cycle again, and he might get a golden upgrade in LA. But I think looking at that podium, Cam McAvoy was the form swimmer this Olympic cycle. He was hitting ridiculous times. Ben was second fastest throughout the 3 years, so silver to him. And then the third was right up for grabs.
And in reality, those 2 were clear of the field.
They were. Oh, they were. 0.3 was it? Maybe a little bit less than that, which is that's a distance over a 50. That's like nearly half a body length. That's massive.
It's almost nothing, but yes.
Well, that was the difference between 3rd and 8th, wasn't it, in that race, which is mental. Great for Manadu as well, obviously history making from his point of view. But Ben he should be really happy with that. He's collected every major medal now, either like Olympics, Europeans, Worlds. He's done a lot. Yeah. But I suppose he wants to turn that to gold. So we'll see what comes from him later.
So that's the 5 medals on the books. Like we said, wrong side of the touch in some of the outcomes, just behind the golds. But at the end of the day, I think we're pretty satisfied with those 5 medals. The near misses, which so nearly could have been a medal. We've already spoken about them. So we've spoken about Duncan's 200 metres freestyle. Max Litchfield in the 400 metres IM. That's his fourth place in a row at Olympic Games.
Tough.
We don't need to say anything more on that. I think by the looks of things, he's going again from his social post, but we'll leave that up to him to discuss.
I mean, the mentality of the guy, if he's able to do that, is sensational, honestly.
But you can't ask anything more of him. Olympic Games, British smashed the British record.
Yeah.
And he broke that British record earlier on in the year at the London British Champs.
Yep.
Fourth, yes, is heart-wrenching, but we can't knock a fourth in that. I don't think you can ask for anything more.
No, well, time-wise, you can't ask for anything more. And then position-wise, Marchand was always going to win. I guess Carson Foster was a little bit off to get his bronze, I suppose.
Yeah, he didn't have a great meet.
No, he didn't. I suppose from that point of view, his opportunity missed a little bit, I suppose. But honestly, there's not much more you can say or ask of Max. He's done exactly what he was supposed to do. Hit a PB, new British record, and unfortunately on the day, you had 3 guys who were just faster, which it's not unlucky, it's just unfortunate, honestly.
And then the other fourth place was Freya Colbert as well in the 400 metres individual medley. Her first Olympic Games. I believe she's still only 20 years old, so there's still a massive future for her. You think a bit like Max, Summer was gone with that one, so it was a battle between her and the Americans, and she just got the wrong side of the freestyle leg. But there's huge promise for her because she was, 4th and fighting for that podium the whole way. I think first Olympic Games, if you're fighting for a podium, fantastic. It's almost like I wish 4th place is counted toward this total that people are going to see the 5 and be like, oh, it's less than Tokyo. But actually, there's so much more to take into it when you think first Olympic Games. You think how well a lot of these swimmers swam.
Yeah,
we've spoken about a lot of them. I think Ang Harrod is the other one we want to touch upon. Maybe Abby Wood in the 200 IM. They just performed in finals, got to finals, made their way through the rounds.
Well, all of these near misses, which is what these fourths are, let's say. Freya swam that 400 IM exactly how she was supposed to. She was leading after the breaststroke leg ahead of Emma Wines, who's the one you were racing against, because Summer McIntosh, Casey Grimes, they're gone, unfortunately, at this point. And she put herself in the best position to win that bronze. Unfortunately, it didn't come out for her. Ang Harrod, she pushed that first 50 a little bit harder than what she did in the heats and the semis. Came back strong like she did in the heats and semis. Unfortunately, yes, I know it was a 6th. So it doesn't look as though it's a near miss. But actually, what was it, 0.2 or 3 off? So she can't do much more first Olympics, just like Freya. And then we've spoken about Duncan already and Max. But honestly, if you turn those 4ths or 6s into bronzes, then you're looking at 8 medals, 9 medals. Then suddenly it's one of the best Olympics we've ever had.
I know.
So it's the negativity is not needed, I think. I actually think we did really well.
Any other top performers beyond the ones that we spoke about? I think there's a few maybe unsung heroes that we need to talk about. We spoke Jack McMillan in the heats of the 4x2 for him to go a 1:45 and, well, it was a 1:45 low in the end. Was really, really impressive. He will be a part of that 4x2 for a while. It justifies his risk, I guess, moving over here, moving from Belfast over to Stirling.
Yep.
And then I want to talk James Wilby. So while Adam was ill, James Wilby took the mantle in the mixed medley relay. He swam both the heats and the final in that one, and he was swimming 59 lows in the relays all week long. Then in the individual, again, he was hugely unlucky not to make a final in that as well. So I think his performances on the week will probably go under the radar. But I think if you compare his relay splits in the breaststroke that he did in that mixed medley, they're there with the rest of the guys in that final. Martin Engies, your Nick Finks. He's right around that time. And as always, Adam gets the spotlight, but if Adam Peaty didn't exist, James Wilby would be a star breaststroker in this country.
And I think that's probably what it is. He's actually one of the best breaststrokers that have ever lived. His PB, 58.4, I think it is that's a top 10 sort of swim, Yeah. But people kind of forget about that because Adam does what he does. James Wilby is it's a fantastic swimmer and just had a solid meet. You say 59s across the relays, and that's pretty much what those guys, the rest of the world, were doing. So he's right up there, So an unsung hero is definitely the way to say about him. You did touch about Abby Wood in the 200 IM, and I'm going to put her in the same category as your Freya in the 400 IM,
what she needed to
where
do.
she raced the race. She went out hard. She had to, with the swimmers that were in the pool, for crying out loud. A massive race. Paid for it a little bit at the end. But you've got to put yourself out there. You've got to give yourself the best opportunity. And I think Abby Wood, there's more to give there. I know she's gone sub 209 for the first time this year. And I think that time will just keep on tumbling lower and lower, if I'm honest.
So, let's talk the future of Aquatics GB then. Where does this meet leave Team GB? Well, we don't need to talk funding. That's not up to us. We don't need to discuss any stuff like that. What this means having a lower total than Tokyo, when actually we think this is a meet full of huge promise, given how many first-time Olympians there were, given how many on PB, close to PB swims, given fourth places, finals. Yep. I think moving forwards, we're in a very special place. Now, every Olympic cycle, especially like the past two, like it's been tough the past two, given there was the COVID pandemic, which pushed Tokyo back and made that Olympic cycle a 5-year, and then this one a 3-year. Like, I consider that quite hard to combat as a swimmer, especially mentally and physically tiring. Yeah. So after this, I would expect maybe a little bit of a changing of the guard, maybe a few names to come out saying, okay, I'm happy with my time in the sport. I think Adam is the one right now who's left it hanging. He said he's stepping away, but he hasn't said he's retiring as such. So it sounds like he's just having an indefinite break. And if the spark that he's found during this Olympic cycle, because he said he found it, reignites, then he will come back. It's not a definite out right now.
Yeah, I mean, every Olympics, there is always a host of swimmers that then retire, because obviously the Olympics is the pinnacle. You train for that, and then once you've achieved what you wanted to achieve, then you kind of bow out. And a lot of our swimmers are getting to that sort of point, I would probably say, although we've got
I wouldn't say there's a lot.
Swimmers.
I actually wouldn't say there's a lot.
Well, there's a number that could, let's say.
Well, definitely don't say it about Jimmy, because he's going.
No, he is doing another cycle, and he's changing. He's stepping away from the fly, as far as I'm aware, and he's going for the 400 free. So he's almost going full cycle, almost. He started as a 400 free, now he's going to end with a 400 free.
And he's going back up to Manchester with
well. It's a bit like Wayne Rooney going back to Everton, isn't it?
Oh, God. Don't talk about that. Let's talk new performance centre then, because there is going to be a new performance centre in this country. The squad of... Well, we don't actually know the makeup of the entire squad, but Ryan Livingston is heading it. He's currently the Millfield coach. He's masterminded Matt's progress over the last few years, masterminded Jimmy coming back to insane form. We didn't even talk. Jimmy hit a PB in the 200 metres free for the first time in 9 years. That squad is being set up at the Manchester Aquatics Centre, which is newly refurbished. And then Loughborough, Mel Marshall is off. She's off to Australia. So there are changes out of the pool. I don't know at this moment in time what's happening to Mel's performance squad at Loughborough. That's not come out. I presume it will over the next weeks, months. We'll find out what happens there. But there is change afoot. There is definitely going to be change afoot from this.
Yep.
Hopefully it's something that we keep you guys up to date with.
Yeah. Well, it's saying we're a little bit in the dark ourselves, but obviously everyone at the moment is in Paris. They're enjoying themselves. They've just done the massive training block of 3 years. They're not thinking about it right now. They're on holiday, and they're not going to think about it until September. I think they're going to have all of August completely off. They're going to go and have a good time, and then the work will be starting for the next Olympic cycle, probably in a couple of weeks' time, with obviously the new performance centre in Manchester. Like you say, actually, we only know that Matt's going to go there and Jimmy's going to go there. The Ryan Livingston squad, I imagine. Maybe not all of them. But I think that'll be good. That'll be good to have another performance centre. So that would bring us up to, I don't know if Stirling actually classes as one.
No, I don't think it does.
But you got your Loughborough, Manchester, Bath in England. And then let's class Stirling as one, because it's pretty much the same. So that's
a
four.
Scottish performance centre.
Four in the country. So that's good going.
Well, hang on. There's a Welsh performance centre as well in Swansea.
Of course there is. Oh, yes. How can I forget? So, we're covering bases across the whole of the UK. So, Yeah, and hopefully that will lead on to bigger and better things, because then there's more facilities for these swimmers to go into to become the best that they can be.
So yeah, like we said, we'll keep you guys up to date with any changes that we hear of, that we see, that get announced. We're probably not going to be the ones breaking the news, I'll be honest. Yeah. But we will discuss it on here, and you never know, that new performance centre in Manchester, hopefully we can get up there and see what they're doing, like we did at Bath before the Olympic Games, like we've done at Loughborough as well in the weeks leading into trials with Freya. But yeah, overall thoughts then, Dan, of Team GB at the Paris Olympic Games? Let's give them a rating out of 10.
Oh, a rating out of 10. I think it was solid. What's a number that's solid? Sort of like your 7 or 8. I think it was solid.
Yeah, I'm leaning 7.5.
Yeah, there you go, the perfect. 7 or 8. If you change those silvers to golds, then suddenly that's like a 9, isn't it?
Yeah.
You change those fourths into medals of any colour, then you're suddenly looking at 10. So we were just the other side of the touch, effectively. Unfortunate, but that's the way sports goes, especially in swimming or, most sports actually, time-based sports. Yeah, I generally think we did all right. And I'm really excited about the new crop of talent coming through, because all the debutants swam really well. So yeah, I'm generally quite happy with how we did.
Yeah, like we keep saying, once you look at things from a broader perspective rather than just your 5 medals on your hand, I think the whole of the swimming world, other than maybe France, were down on their medal tally than usual, because America didn't get to their double-digit golds that they always get to. Australia didn't beat America. The Australian men didn't win a gold. So when you actually look at the broader perspective of that meet, I think the spread of the... Like we actually spoke about this. I think the spread of the medals was more even than it has been over the last Olympics. Like America didn't get a massive chunk of them. France did with Marchand. Well, but swimming has got deeper over the rest of the world over the past 3 years.
Well, we said this on a daily podcast that you don't really want a monopoly of America winning every gold, because then it gets a little bit boring for your casual swimming fans. I think it's better that it's all spread out across the world, that most countries are now starting to medal. So I think it's better for the sport that it's like that. And of course, when you've got a global superstar now, the next Michael Phelps, that certainly helps push the sport as well.
Absolutely. Okay, that just about rounds up this episode of the Propulsion Swimming Podcast. Like we said, we're going to be back to weekly episodes now on the Propulsion Swimming Podcast YouTube channel, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Make sure you're subscribed there, and hopefully over the next few weeks, months, we'll get some guests on who went to the Olympic Games, who can share their thoughts and opinions from inside camp, whether that is from Team GB or from further afield. We will be sending out invites soon, so make sure you're subscribed, and we will see you guys in 1 week's time. Back to saying that.
Back to 1 week's time. Thank you for listening, everyone, and we'll catch you on the next one.
You've been listening to the Propulsion Swimming Podcast with Scott and Dan. We want to thank you for joining us and invite you to subscribe to the show, as well as checking out the Propulsion Swimming YouTube channel for weekly tutorials and videos to get your swimming fix. We will be back next week. Until then, we'll catch you on the next one.